Hey, what's up everyone? Airball MTG here, and we've got some tournament action for you. This is the first Lotus Field Open. It's a weekly MTG tournament, a weekly Pioneer tournament that Top Deck Studios is putting on, and I'm helping to run. And we played, unsurprisingly, Lotus Field in the first weekend of the Lotus Field Open. This is a tremendously complicated deck. We ended up running 3 rounds, but one of them was a bye. So this video is going to be 2 matches from that tournament and one more from my stream when I was prepping for this. This is Airball from the future. I already know how these things went, but we'll leave it as a bit of a surprise for you so you guys have something to watch. But I will say stick around for the match that was not part of the tournament because it was one of the sickest matches of Magic I have ever played. Okay, so some of you know what this deck does, some of you don't. The quick and dirty version of it is that this deck is trying to do broken things, making a bunch of mana with Lotus Field, the namesake card in the deck. So Lotus Field is a land that enters the battlefield tapped, and when it does, you have to sacrifice 2 other lands. But when you tap it, you tap for 3 mana. And so it's generally net neutral if you just play it and have to sacrifice 2 other lands, because instead of having 3 lands in play, you're having 1 that taps for 3. So it's about the same on rate if you just play it by itself. But once you start untapping it with things that cost less than 3 mana, then all of a sudden you generate positive mana. And we have a lot of cards in the deck that are designed to be able to do that. These are cards that are not really available on Arena. So this is one of the reasons that the deck is not a player in Explorer. But in Pioneer, we have 4 copies of Hidden Strings that we can play, which allows you to tap or untap 2 target permanents. This does not just mean your own permanents, by the way. So you can untap 2 Lotus Fields, so you net 4 mana, because you float 6 mana, you pay 2 of it, you untap, you're back to where you started, but with 4 floating mana. So you have a way to generate 4 mana off of Hidden Strings if you have 2 Lotus Fields in play. But you can also tap down your opponent's thing. So if you're up against like a control deck or a tempo deck, and you want to be able to make sure you resolve a spell, and you already have the mana you need, you can Hidden Strings in main phase 1, tap down their blue lands, go to main phase 2, and combo off from there. We'll get to the combo in a minute, but let's look at the other things that untap lands. You have 4 copies of Vizier of Tumbling Sands. Vizier is a... let me pull this over here so you can look at it. Vizier is a creature, 1/3 that you can tap to untap target permanent, so it functions as another copy of Lotus Field if you cast it. But generally you're not casting it. Generally you're cycling it instead. And when you cycle it, you get to untap target permanent. So for 2 mana, you get to untap a Lotus Field, which nets you 1 mana and draws you a card, which digs you deeper in your deck to find your combo pieces. We also have 4 copies of Pour Over the Pages, and this card is absolutely sick when it resolves and you have 2 Lotus Fields in play. So it's net positive 1 mana, because it's 5 mana, you get to untap 2 Lotus Fields. And then you draw 3 and discard 1, and you have more mana than when you started. This card, once you've set up, is the straw that stirs the drink, basically. So this gives you the agility and the velocity to get through your deck to find the pieces that you need. So all of these only work if you have Lotus Fields in play. So how do you find Lotus Field? Well, you have 4 copies of Sylvan's Crying, which is obviously a multi-format all-star going all the way back to Legacy. You can tutor up whatever lands you please, and it has utility even if you already have your Lotus Fields in play, because you can search up the Kamigawa lands like Boseiju and Odawara, or even a Temple of Mystery, to just get value off the lands so that you can use those to get deeper into your deck as well. Boseiju can answer hate pieces like Damping Sphere or Pithing Needle. You can fetch Lair of the Hydra, which is one of your win cons in the deck. You can pump a bunch of mana into that to kill your opponent. So Sylvan's Scrying, awesome in the deck. You also have 4 copies of Impulse, 1 copy of Shimmer in this particular list. Some decks don't run Shimmer at all. Some decks run 2 copies of Shimmer in addition to the Impulses. These let you dig through your top 3 or 4 cards in your deck and use them as an anticipate effect to find whatever piece you're missing. Combo pieces. Combo decks love these cards. We also have Brawl, which is an interesting include. It's a creature that acts as like a mana accelerator. It makes all of these other spells cheaper and makes it easier to go off earlier in the game. But also Arboreal Grazer. So if you have an untapped land on 1, Arboreal Grazer lets you put in a tap land on 2, and then you get to play your Lotus Field on 2 instead of 3. So Arboreal Grazer can accelerate your combo here by an entire turn. So you can kill as early as turn 4 if you play your cards right and everything goes your way. So the deck doesn't work unless you have 2 copies of Lotus Field for the most part. And the second copy of Lotus Field usually is not an actual copy of Lotus Field. The second copy of Lotus Field is Thespian Stage. So this is a land that comes into play, and copies you can pay 2 and tap it to copy a Lotus Field, and then you get the Lotus Field effect, the ability to tap for 3 mana without actually having to sacrifice the other 2 lands. So once you get one Lotus Field down, it's usually not so bad to get the second one, but if you don't, then you're kind of stuck. Okay, so now we have both Lotus Fields in play. We found the pieces that we need. What are we trying to accomplish? Well, we have the actual combo package over here in this column. If you there's an awful lot of little pieces to remember with this deck, but what you need to know is that if you resolve Emergent Ultimatum with 1 blue mana floating, you have a deterministic win. If you search for Behold the Beyond, Dark Petition, and Omniscience, if all these things are in your deck, then you can search for Hidden Strings, Balaged Recoveries, and eventually Mastermind's Acquisitions. You'll get an Omniscience into play, and then you'll be able to fetch Approach of the Second Sun from the sideboard, cast it and recast it from your graveyard, or grab it from your graveyard, put it back in your hand, and recast it for free with Omniscience in play. And that's how you end up winning the game. There are a lot of little pieces here and there that we could go over. I could spend 20 minutes talking about all the little nitpicky details about what happens in different situations and what you need in your deck and what other piles you fetch if you can't meet those conditions and so on. But I found that really the best way to learn is to watch someone actually pilot it. So let's do that. Let's hop into some games, see how the deck does. We'll take the play. This is Izzet creativity from our opponents. The main combo, it looks like, is still World Spine Worm and Xanagos, as opposed to some of the Torrential Gearhulk versions that we've been seeing. We are on the play, which is critically important. We do not have Lotus Field nor a way to find it, so we'll throw this one away. This one has Lotus Field, Thespian Stage, and a land, so we can get Lotus Field in play on turn 2, which I think is about all we can ask for. It does mean we have to throw away the Thespian Stage to do it if we don't draw a land. So we'll keep this, and I think probably the play is to put back the Hidden Strings, because we don't have a way to get 2 Lotus Fields in play for a while. We'll keep the Impulse. Hey Phoenix, good to see you. How are you doing? Our opponent also mulligans to 6. And here we go. Balaged Sanctuary tapped, pass the turn. So for those of you unfamiliar, Indomitable Creativity is a 3 triple red pip and X, sacrifice or destroy X target permanents and fetch from your library. Basically transmogrify those into cards in your library. They put out Xanagos and World Spine Worm, which gives you 30 hasty trample damage out of nowhere, which is terrifying. I suppose... So we can put Grazer into play here and just get Lotus Field. We can also play Thespian Stage and hope to draw another land and keep the Thespian Stage plus Lotus Field the following turn. But without blue, we don't get to spend the 2 mana this turn, so I think the play is just going to be Grazer, put Lotus Field in play, sack both lands. Alright, so there's one Lotus Field. And we don't have a great way to interact with the opponent's permanent, so they're going to try to make like treasure tokens, shark tokens, whatever, target those with Indomitable Creativity and kill us in one go. And there's not a whole lot we can do about that. So if we Vizier into Thespian Stage, we get to copy Lotus Field this turn. If we Impulse find Thespian Stage, we don't. So I think that's enough for me to... Well, we could also just play Vizier, and that acts as another copy of Lotus Field, which is maybe better. Let me look at how much removal they have. They have 4 copies Fiery Impulse, 4 copies Fire Prophecy. Yeah, the Vizier's just going to die. So I think we'll cycle the Vizier here and see what happens. In game 2, that might have been the right thing to do. Alright. Did we find Thespian Stage? Find Pour over the pages. That's not bad. Let's Impulse. And if we find Thespian Stage, again, we can play it and copy it. So we got a lot of looks here. We don't find Thespian Stage, we do find the next best thing. We find Sylvan Scrying. We can't cast it with the 2 mana in the pool, so we're going to have to play Botanical Sanctum in the next turn. Yeah, so maybe I should have tapped for green knowing that. Knowing that this was a possibility. So now I have to play the Botanical Sanctum, cast Scrying this way. So I think that's a mistake. Should have tapped a different color. And this deck can get you. Like, little decisions like that can just slow you down by a turn, which is all you need to lose the game. I think we'll just pass. No attacks with the Grazer, I'm scared. Okay, so Mutavault is not a land that casts creativity by itself. What are they running in terms of counter magic? They're running 3 copies of Make Disappear, 1 copy of Disdainful Stroke, both in the main. So that can be problematic for us. I think we're going to start with a Shimmer. Yes, we're going to start with a Shimmer. Find Grazer, Impulse, Leer. I feel like Leer's an important puzzle piece. Doesn't die to a lot of their removal with 4 toughness. And keeps our spells from being countered. So I think I'm down to just take Leer off the Shimmer. But now we will just copy Lotus Field. Woof. No attacks. They don't have 3 mountains or anything close to it in play, so there's no Dwarven Mine here coming into play, making a Dwarf, and then cracking it next turn. So it looks like we will live to fight through the next turn. We would love for them to tap out and make our life easier here. We have 7 mana, so if they Make Disappear, they're going to have to sacrifice the Mutavault to Casualty. Or I guess have 2 copies of Make Disappear, but I think that's fine, because then we'll Leer recast the Pour. So yeah, we're just going to go for it. Blue, cast Pour. And if they counter this, if they do manage to counter this, we can Sylvan Scrying. Yeah, just the 1 of Disdainful Stroke in the main. That's nice. That would have also countered Leer, though, so I'm glad I did it in this order. And I guess we'll just cast Scrying, because why not? And the question then, I guess, is going to be, what do we fetch? We already have all the mana we need. Right? We could fetch a Temple of Mystery, try to find more gas in the deck. We could find Botanical Boseiju, try to disrupt their combo if we have to pass. We could Lair of the Hydra and just beat them. It's a tough call. We could Otawara for interaction with the actual Worldspine Worm itself, which I actually think is probably best. Yeah, I think I'll take Otawara. And I don't think I'm going to play it. I'll pass the turn. Impulse the Grazer. You got it. It's dead. This is mountain number 2. And they can activate Mutavault here if they want and target it with creativity. Instead, it's Fable with 2 mana open. So now they're threatening to go for the combo next turn, hitting the Goblin and the Mutavault, right? No, not quite. Yeah, I think the time has come to get Lear down. And if they want Make Disappear with Casualty, then... Oh, great. Okay, this is awesome. So now we get to cast what we want from the bin. I guess it's going to be Impulse. Keep the copy of Impulse in our hand. And if they don't kill us or Lear next turn, then I think we're in pretty good shape, because we'll get to cast Pour from the graveyard. I think I'm just going to take Besage, hit my land drop. And pass. So Fable's not going to flip. They activate Mutavault. They'll have 2 targets but only 3 mana. And if they attack with the Goblin Shaman to make a treasure to execute the combo, then the combo doesn't kill us until their next turn, and we have a chance to go off this turn. But opponent has played suspiciously, right? Like, they've kept 2 mana open all game, so whatever we do, we have to make sure it works through Make Disappear. Obviously, Lear is a big part of that, but if they can kill Lear and then Make Disappear, that's problematic. Obviously, we're never blocking here. We're never exposing Lear to Fire Prophecy or Fiery Impulse or something like that. Opponent discarded Salkinzon and Shark Typhoon, so both of those are token makers. They feel, I guess, like they have enough. Digging for the combo now. Yeah, I don't think they have a way to kill me from here. Yeah, we are never blocking here in a million years. Our life total is not relevant. Like, they will either get there with the combo and kill us super dead, or they won't, and we'll kill them. So there's Fable, and we're going to get to untap, and I don't see a great way for them to actually kill us, or to stop us from going off here. So we'll untap. Oh, well, okay. Let's, I think, just start with Pour from the bin. Though I don't think it's actually necessary. And now we can tap for blue, black, cast Hidden Strings. Yes, yes, no. Cast Ultimatum. Alright, and we find the deterministic win is Behold the Beyond, Dark Petition, and Omniscience. Where is Omniscience? Right there. Okay, so make sure that Behold the Beyond resolves first, so that we don't discard the cards that Dark Petition finds. So we stack them in this way. It'll be Dark Petition on the stack first, Behold the Beyond goes on the stack after. Behold the Beyond. Is there a reason to Impulse first? Not really. Anything we find is going to be discarded, although with Lear that's probably fine. So I think I actually will Impulse in response. And sure, we'll get an Emergent Ultimatum to throw in the graveyard. That's fine. Alright. So Behold the Beyond's going to resolve. We're going to fetch We have 1 hidden strings in the bin. We'll fetch Omniscience. Hidden string, or Ball Get Recovery, and hidden strings. Yeah. Okay, and Dark Petition now resolves. And I think I'm just going to get another Ball Get Recovery. Okay, and now tap for blue, cast hidden strings from the graveyard. Okay, and I guess because this is cast with flashback, it's going to get exiled anyway, so we might as well encode it onto Lear. But it doesn't actually really matter. And now we can cast Omniscience. And I guess just in case they have some way to interact with Omniscience, we should make sure that we make mana here immediately. Because if they bounce Omniscience or something, we'll want to make sure that we have mana to continue going off. But if they had that, then they would have just bounced Lear earlier. Alright, so now we can Ball Again Recovery, back Dark Petition, Dark Petition is going to fetch Mastermind's Acquisition. Mastermind's Acquisition is going to fetch Approach of the Second Sun. We're going to cast Approach of the Second Sun. Balaged Recover. Actually, we can just cast Mastermind's Acquisition off of Lear. Find Approach. Cast Approach. And win the game. Cool. Got there in game 1. So, executed that quickly enough. I think we're down to 15 minutes on the clock. That is the main problem. The opponent made us combo off, which is perfectly fair, obviously. But we do need to deal with the clock a little bit. Playing against Creativity. So I do have access to Connor Mullally's wonderful Lotus Field guide. Hey, MTG Nerd Girl, did you get the buy? Or did your round just end that quickly already? We do have a sideboard guide for different Lotus Field deck that I guess I can just look at. We have Izzet Creativity. Yeah, so the Dramokas come in as they are uncounterable. And obviously we saw one main deck, Disdainful Stroke from the opponent, so being able to shut them out of acting on our turn is pretty great. And what else? I think Cyclonic Rift is actually pretty sweet as like a bounce spell. It bounces all like the artifacts and tokens that they create as well. We can cast it for 2 in an emergency to bounce the worm. I think they're probably going to have, yeah, against us, I'm guessing Hullbreaker Horror comes in instead of the worm. So our technique here is a little less effective, but still fine. And we need to remove 3 cards. Usually Shimmer is one of them. Like that, it just almost always comes out. Baral. I feel like Baral is not great here either. Like, just Fire Prophecy is probably going to stay in. They have too many removal spells to board out all of them. So I think Baral will probably die. And I like being insulated against the removal spells that they do draw. And what else? What's the other drop here? Sideboard Guide says that it doesn't like the extra copy, like 1 more copy of Balaged Recovery, which I think is kind of weird. But I guess I'll do it. See what happens. Okay. That is a hand of magic cards. We have Lotus and we have Thespian Stage and we have one of the best cards in the matchup. We just need to have a little faith in the top of our deck. We're going to keep this. And Sylvan Scrying, if we ever needed it. Start with an island, I think. So in the sideboard they have one copy Change the Equation, which could counter Sylvan Scrying. I actually think I really like playing Sylvan Scrying on 2, even though we don't need it, because they don't know that we have Lotus Field in hand. They might think we're relying on it. So they might counter a meaningless Sylvan Scrying here rather than advance their board, which I think is nice. I want to keep Beseiju in hand to like kill a treasure in response to creativity or something, so I think it's Sanctum here and attempt to resolve Sylvan Scrying. And if it resolves, I'm not sure what to grab. It's probably just Odawara or Temple of Mystery. Yeah, and they do counter it, which is outstanding for us. We did not need that to resolve, and we got one of their premium counterspells against us out of their hand. I'm going to play Steam Vents tapped and says go. We find another Beseiju. We don't really have use for this mana outside of Beseiju itself. Is there an argument for Thespian Stage here? Hold up Beseiju for whatever like little treasure token they make, Beseiju that? I don't think so, because... Yeah, I don't think so, because it'll just get them a land from their deck, and that's about as good as the treasure in the early game, so we're just going to Lotus Field away these 2 lands and be kind of sad about it. Do not click Lotus Field. Okay, cool. Want to just cast Impulse, that's fine. So still only 2 mana, only 2 mountains, excuse me. There's no Dwarven Mine to put into play. And in fact, actually, it doesn't look like they even have it in the deck. So they're not going to kill us this turn. If we get to Thespian Stage copy, the following turn we get to play Dromoka. We have just drawn a boatload of lands at this point, and as I say that, we draw another. So we might just lose this, unfortunately. They could here end step cast Big Score. I guess there's no reason for me to do this copy now because they don't have any land destruction effects in the deck. So I can make them sweat a little bit. Yeah, they do Big Score here. We can't interact with that. So now the question becomes, I guess we could, if they attempt a creativity here, we can Beseiju away the target. We can even double Beseiju if we want. So opponent just says go here, which is like pretty sketchy and strongly suggests Hullbreaker Horror to me. But we're not going to not copy here. Find Balagid Recovery. We can cast Dromoka here. It will resolve, but the problem is they'll just have Hullbreaker Horror attack, bounce our stuff, and I don't think we develop enough. So I think we just have to play another Thespian Stage and say go. If they don't have Hullbreaker Horror, then Dromoka's fine, not great. I think we pass for one more turn, because if we get to untap with a another copied Thespian Stage, we can Dromoka and have Beseiju available. There was no Hullbreaker Horror. That's kind of wild. Opponent didn't do anything. just raw dogs the Shark Typhoon. But that's vulnerable to Beseiju, so I think that's fine. Alright, so I think... yeah, I don't think it matters much what order we do this in. I'm actually kind of blown away that they just cast the Shark Typhoon. That seems wild. And hopefully we find, like, Pour Over the Pages or something off the top here. I'll take Impulse. Find Hidden Strings, Omniscience, Ultimatum. I have 3, 6, 7, 8 mana. We'll be able to Leer with a Lotus Field up. And an Impulse in the bin. And then Ultimatum will follow next turn. I think I'll take Ultimatum here. Three, 6, 7. Oh, but I have to play the Beseiju if I do that. Okay, well, if we Leer here and they counter it, then they have to burn one of their treasures to do it, and they won't have 2 treasures for the following turn. Great. I am actually kind of very surprised that resolved. Alright, Impulse. And I'll take a Pour Over the Pages. That seems good. And we'll play Botanical Sanctum tapped and pass. And if they don't kill us here, then we probably win the game. If they don't kill us or Leer here. They pass the turn again. At some point, they're going to draw Hullbreaker Horror, right? So this is 3, 6, 9, 10 mana. 11 with Beseiju. So let's force their hand. I'm going to cast Dramoka. Yes. Right? Right. So Dramoka not only can't be countered, but it stops the opponents from casting spells on our turn. Great. So now we get to just go off. I will discard a Beseiju, I suppose. Now we can Hidden Strings. And now we can Ultimatum. Set Ultimatum. So this obviously is guaranteed to resolve, and now we get to Behold the Beyond, Dark Petition, and Omniscience. And like I said, this is the deterministic win from here. Yep. So Behold the Beyond is going to resolve first. That means Petition goes on the stack first. That's gonna resolve. And we're going to fetch Hidden Strings, Omniscience, and Bolligid Recovery. And Dark Petition is going to also resolve. And I'm not actually sure it really matters what we get at this point. I guess I'll take another Hidden Strings. So, Hidden Strings is going to untap, untap. And we're going to do it again. And now we're going to cast... I'm going to do Hidden Strings one more time, because there is the possibility they have Otawara, and I don't want to risk looking like an idiot. Now I'll go ahead and cast Omniscience. Alright. And I will Bolligid Recovery back, I guess. Behold the Beyond seems fine. And we'll cast Behold the Beyond for free. We'll fetch Mastermind's Acquisition and Pour Over the Pages and Dark Petition, whatever. Cast Mastermind's Acquisition and win the game. Cool. Okay. Yeah, we were definitely there. I think opponent was trying to see if we would time out or screw up, but at that point there's not really many ways to mess up the game. So we got there. 2-0 in round 1. Schultz is playing mono green. Alright, so here we are. We're on the play again, because we're very good at this game. And we have an opening hand with 1 land plus a Lotus Field. And we have 2 of our main combo pieces in hand. This is a mulligan. We have a 1-lander again, so this one's also going back. This is a 1-lander plus a Lotus Field. Yeah, this is kind of grim. I don't think I'm willing to go to 4 here. So we're going to keep this and hope we rip a land off the top. And as for the putback, it's got to be one of Petition or Ultimatum. Against mono green, I think it's got to go fast time, so Ultimatum it is. We'll put back the Petition. And I suppose Pour, because if we get the Thespian stage and play Hidden Strings plus the 2 copies of Lotus Field is enough for Ultimatum, so we'll put back the Pour Over the Pages, I think. And we're going to play the Botanical Sanctum and pass the turn. Yeah, so this matchup is all about whether or not Schultz can get Karn down and fetch Damping Sphere. We did find a land. Unfortunately, it's tapped, but at least we have a game of Magic that's happening now. So if we have turn 3 Karn here, we probably just lose the game on the spot. Instead, Llanowar Elves are coming in. Alright, that's pretty good news for us. We find Impulse. I think what I would be impulsing for is just the Thespian stage anyway. So we'll just cast the Sylvan Scrying and make that happen. We'll sack these 2 lands. Now, of course, still, Karn minus Fetch Damping Sphere and I don't think we can realistically win. But if that's not Schultz's play this turn or next, then we probably win. I think we need to make it to turn 5, probably. Are we winning? Yeah, we're 1-0 in the tournament. Good to see you, Astrals. Hope your vacation's going well. We find Impulse again. Yeah. We'll represent Beseju, I think. I guess they could want to... Yeah, they could next turn storm the festival into... Yeah, there's no... Yeah. I think we just we say go here. There's nothing that's going to kill this Thespian stage or interact or stop me from using it. Pithing Needle is the fear, but we'll get a chance to respond to Pithing Needle on the stack. So this at least makes Schultz think about things like Otawara. They could have a Beseju, actually. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, definitely should have. Yeah, so this is Karn minus with just enough to fetch Damping Sphere. Let's make him commit to that play. And if it is, then we can't copy. You like waiting because it lets us double impulse? That's true too. I like that. So it is Damping Sphere. If we copy, then all of a sudden we just have nothing but colorless mana for the rest of the game. So I think we are double impulsing here in response. And hoping to find Beseju or something like that to kill the Damping Sphere. Vizier's no good once the Damping Sphere resolves. Honestly, we probably just want an untapped green source next turn. Because the Damping Sphere is going to resolve and we won't be able to Beseju it. So I think we need an untapped green source. And we find another Thespian stage, Masterminds, Lotus Field. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what the take is here, honestly. If it's Thespian stage, Karn is just going to fetch Pithing Needle next turn anyway. So we won't have time to activate both. I guess it's going to be Masterminds, but I don't love it. Yeah, the only thing I can think we could have done differently this game is the Sylvan Scrying for Beseju, but... So now we have an unimpressive 3 mana available to us. We can copy a forest, I guess, on their end step so we have extra green. Sounds like you have some experience with the deck bash. You a big Pioneer player? Big Lotus Field player in particular? Cavalier is kind of whatever. Yeah, I think Sanctum was better than Temple just because we had 5 more looks at finding Beseju and we needed untapped green to be able to use it immediately. So I think Temple would have been a turn slower if we had found what we were looking for. If I want to protect it from Beseju, I can copy Forest. That's true. That's true. They do have their own Beseju. Tormod's Crypt is what they fetched. We can fight through a Tormod's Crypt. We just need to kill this sphere. You figured you wouldn't find it, so you would have taken the scry. Oh, that's not great. I love the confidence. Okay, well, I guess it's breeding pool tapped, go. Oh, Schultz is talking to me in the chat too. I wasn't even looking. Schultz's main deck is lands in Legacy, so probably one of his favorite cards is Thespian Stage. Old Growth Troll, sure. Llanowar Elf, sure. And we're getting attacked by a Damping Sphere. I guess there's no way to punish that. It is a creature. We don't really have any interaction for creatures in our main deck. Okay, well, we found the Beseiju. We have the Beseiju, and the Hidden Strings will net 2 mana, so we'll have 6 mana left over after it's all said and done. Which is not going to be enough to cast Emergent Ultimatum. We could Mastermind's Acquisition instead, and have 2 mana left over after that. And I'm trying to come up with what we can do to stay alive in that case. How much are we getting attacked for next turn? It's going to be 5, 9, 10. We're going to kill this sphere. It's just a little too much. This sucks. So we have to go off this turn. Yeah, we must go off this turn, unfortunately. Okay, well. I don't know what we're going to find, but we're going to cast Mastermind's Acquisition and take a look through the deck. Oh, yeah, that's true. If I had copied the Lotus Field on end step, then Beseiju would have won the game. You're right. I punted this away for sure. Nothing for 2 mana in the sideboard, right? Psych Rift. Psych Rift bounces the Cavalier. We take 4, 5, 6, 7. It's probably the best thing. We don't have another 2 mana bounce in the deck. Alright. They can play the Sphere again next turn? How can they play the Sphere again? It's in their graveyard, right? Oh, they can crypt their own graveyard and fetch it with Karn? Yeah. I suppose that works. We'll see if he finds it. That's not the most intuitive line. No, instead, Karn goes and fetches something else. Fetches the Stone Brain. Okay. So the Stone Brain will probably name... I don't know. Probably names Mastermind Acquisition. And at that point, we probably can't win. This is also fine. Yeah, I wish I had seen that line to copy the Lotus Field on end step to win with top deck Boseiju, but obviously it's a pretty thin line. There's, I think, 3 copies of Boseiju in the deck. Although, I mean, we did put like 10 cards on the bottom, so it wasn't super unlikely to find a Boseiju. I should have seen that, I think. So what did we name? What did we... I should check what we named. He names Pour Over the Pages, which is not a card we need to win the game. Yeah. So now we're down to 5, and I guess we can copy Plague Razor, block the 4/4. It tramples. We take 4. We're not dead. All right. And I guess I will play around their Boseiju best I can. All right. We are dead to a stiff breeze. So they reveal a Nykthos. They have 12 mana. There's a Storm the Festival in the bin for them to flashback, so we're gonna be here a while. But if they can't kill us, this turn, then we're okay. Then we'll at least be able to cast Emergent Ultimatum. We won't have the 1 blue floating. Unfortunately, there's no way to cast Emergent Ultimatum with 1 blue with this mana. But untapped blue, I think, kind of wins. But I'm not sure that we're going to get to untap, is the problem. Kiora's going to keep untapping Nykthos. If they find a Karn, then I think we are just dead on the spot. They have more than enough devotion, so they just need to find Karn off of one of these storms. $30 mana. Yeah, I think we're actually deterministically dead with the number of storms that Schultz is casting here. Still no Karn. Yeah, it's... This is the last Storm the Festival in the graveyard. It hits a Cavalier. Cavalier puts another Storm the Festival in the graveyard. Exiles his own graveyard. Okay, so he has Karn in hand. It doesn't make any sense otherwise. So that will allow them to fetch Damping Sphere, and that will win the game. We can't beat that. Okay, so we had the one very narrow line to win. Had one moment to do it and didn't do it. So that sucks, but off to the sideboard. Curious what the sideboard guide has to say about mono green. Pithing Needles, obviously, if you name Karn with Pithing Needle, then your life gets a lot easier. Tear Asunder seems good as just another answer to the Needle. I think I like the mana creatures in the matchup, just to go super fast. And honestly, Psych Rift also seems very good against them. Well, does it? Well, I guess as an answer to Damping Sphere, it's fine. And Shimmer comes out. They love trimming on Balageds. This is interesting. And if we're just trying to go super fast, what's the last cut? Probably a Pour. Although Resolve, they have no interaction for it. It's so hard to cut Pour. It's probably Dark Petition. I could also see Behold the Beyond, but I think I'm going to go with this. You wouldn't cut the Recovery? I could see keeping Recovery and cutting a Pour, but like we are running. Okay. I think you talked me into it. I will take the play. And we have a Lotus Field on 2, plus a Baral and a Vizier. I'll keep this. Having to play the Beseiju as a land kind of blows, but it's fine. This extra Grazer is basically a dead card. Llanowar Elf it is. So we can Lotus Field, untap it with Vizier, play Baral, draw closer to Thespian Stage. Sure. Oh, well, actually, what's the point? I can just Baral now, so that's fine too. That doesn't really achieve anything. Okay. Please don't Karn me. Oath of Nissa finds Karn, because of course it does. So Karn's coming next turn. We have effectively 2 turns to work this out. Scrying is interesting. So scrying for 1 fetches Thespian Stage. Have to do some math here, I think. So Vizier, untap, we have 4 mana. Scrying puts us down to 1, or puts us down to 3. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the play. Yeah, it's scrying, find stage, play stage, copy, untap, and try to go off next turn before they can put the Damping Sphere in play. Yeah, I think so. No! They have Beseiju? Gross. Ugh. Well, I don't think we can beat that, unfortunately. Oh, that blows. Okay. So here's Karn, and we need to go off this turn, and I'm not sure we can. Any reason to play at the second Grazer? As a blocker, I guess. Probably better to hold on to it. Okay. We have our own Beseiju. I'm going to start by cycling, I think. I guess I could just play... I could just play the Vizier. Baral is a legendary, so I would still be able to Beseiju a Damping Sphere off of Karn the following turn. And that gets us our 2 Lotus Fields in play, so if we find, like, Hidden Strings or something like that. Like, it's so thin to cycle Vizier here and not find anything. Tough call. Alright, I'll cycle Vizier. Untap. Draw. Find Botanical Sanctum. Yeah, so now actually Dark Petition doesn't even get Spell Mastery. So we can fetch with it. This is 5/6 mana. Dark Petition would cost 4. We'll have 2 left over for Beseiju. And realistically, we're probably supposed to... I think I'm going to take Pour. I don't love it, but I think I'm going to take Pour. And say go. Kiora, sure. Kiora untaps Nykthos. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Another Nykthos. That's an awful lot of mana. Polukranos Reborn. What does that do on the backside? When it dies, create a 3/3. Sure. Okay. It's aggressively statted, yeah. But it doesn't trample. Cast the Stone Brain. Interesting. Okay, I was expecting Damping Sphere. So Stonebrain names... If it names Mastermind's Acquisition, I think we're just done. Yeah, we didn't bring in any of the other win conditions, which is maybe in retrospect wrong. Is this activate only as a sorcery? It is activate only as a sorcery. So if we get to... If we get priority... Yeah, we won't get priority. Yeah, I mean, that's going to resolve. I wish we had found Pithing Needle. I've played this matchup several times now, and I don't think I've found Pithing Needle once. Names Pour Over the Pages again, which I'm convinced is a mistake. Like, if you just name... if you just name Mastermind's Acquisition, I don't think we can win. We have 2 Besagers in hand and nothing to really hit with them. I guess we can hit Nykthos. Sure. Now that we have 1. Now that we have 2, I mean, we have 1 extra. And it's a Lotus Field. Okay. Well, we're doing this the hard way for sure. Play Lotus Field, sack these 2, hold up Besage you for Damping Sphere, I guess. He might just Stonebrain again. If he thought it was the right call the first time, he might think it's the right call the second time as well. He does choose the Stonebrain again. And at some point, he's going to name Mastermind's Acquisition and the game will end. Yeah, there it is. Okay. That's good enough for me. Okay, we have a pairing. We are on the draw. And we have Sylvan Scrying to find Lotus Field. We have Impulse if that doesn't work. I think we keep this, especially in the dark. Oh, do we have a mirror? Oh no, we have the, this is the Neoform Atraxa deck. Interesting. Scrying, I don't think we want second Scrying. I think we can be pretty confident that our first one is going to resolve. Yeah, definitely Atraxa. Poking me for 1, yeah, sure. I guess that's fine. We found Lotus Field. And I suppose that means I'm supposed to Scrying for another Thespian Sage, because I'm going to have to sacrifice this one to the Lotus Field. I guess I don't have to. I guess I could just play Bala Get Recovery tapped. I can also Impulse instead. But I think it's just Scrying, because I think I would have to Impulse for a Thespian Stage. Take it I'll be doing Command Fest Orlando Part 2. Yes, I will. You're going to Anaheim? That's cool that they have one in Anaheim this year. The Laughing Dragon series hasn't really done much up in the Northwest yet, but I'm excited for them to do that. I know they're going to do a event up in Seattle or Portland at some point soon. One of Thoughtseize is us takes Pour. That's irritating, but not the end of the world. Oh, you're going to Anaheim too, Mets? Or you might be? Be cool if you guys could meet up. We're untapping Mystics. We're doing stuff. Here's Karn the Great Creator. Okay, that is, as far as I know, non-standard, but incredibly effective against us, obviously. I assume they fetch Damping Sphere? No, they fetch Stone Brain. So now we absolutely must get Lotus Field in play, because otherwise they'll Stone Brain naming Lotus Field and we can't win. So I guess that means we're going to start with a Shimmer. They can also Stone Brain naming Thespian Stage, and it gets significantly harder to win, but at least it's not impossible. And we find Petition, Behold the Beyond, Another Stage, and Odawara. Realistically, we might just need Odawara to deal with the Damping Sphere that Karn fetches. Yeah, as weird as it is, I think that's the take. And here's Lotus Field. Although Karn minus get Damping Sphere means that we're effectively screwed here. Lotus Field won't tap for any mana. But we have to play it, obviously, because of the Stone Brain, too. So this is pretty brutal. I was not expecting Karn out of this deck. They have named Mastermind's Acquisition. And I think they will come up empty. Yeah, Masterminds is not in the deck. So it's a swing and a miss. They'll be able to recur Stone Brain with Karn here. But unless they have untapped land, they won't be able to replay it. And they certainly won't be able to reactivate it. But Damping Sphere looms large. There's no deck in the format that plays Karn that doesn't play Damping Sphere. So unfortunately, we really need to go off this turn. And that probably means we need to find, like, Vizier off the top and just try to go off this turn. Opponent is admiring our massive deck. Massive deck is what they're admiring. Guess I'll take this opportunity to say if you're enjoying the content, then feel free to subscribe to this Twitch channel, follow it, go over to YouTube, check me out there. That's where a lot of this content will eventually end up. It's going to be a Pioneer tournament coming up this weekend that I'm helping to run. It is it's run by Top Deck Studios and me. It's the Lotus Field Open. Free entry, $250 cash prize pool. Nothing but value. Karn rebuys the Stone Brain. Okay, so no Damping Sphere to worry about yet. They've milled... What? So Kinnan is in play now, and we are off the map. I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, I mean... We can Thespian Stage, copy Lotus Field, and then Hidden Strings into Ultimatum next turn, if we're not dead. So but they are going to replay the Stone Brain, and I wonder what they'll name. Like, we can't go off from here. Maybe we're supposed to just Odawara Kinnan? I don't think so. I don't think there's a win here that doesn't involve just copying Lotus Field here and praying. So do your worst. This time they won't miss on Stone Brain, I promise. I do fucking hate Karn. I absolutely hate Karn. Okay, so there goes Peer into the Abyss. We are low on win conditions. I think at this point, all that's left is a real big layer of the Hydra. I'm not even sure that's worth playing out. But we're going to try. Alright. Let's start, I guess, the way we're supposed to. Hidden Strings, target. And we'll try to go fast. Merchant Ultimatum. Green. naming Omniscience, Pour, and Leer, I guess. Karn is going to refetch the Stone Brain again, and if they name Lair of the Hydra again, then we're just toast. There are no other win conditions in the deck besides that, other than, like, Leer beatdown. But if we can fetch Lair of the Hydra here and get it into play, then it's safe from the Stone Brain. They're giving us Omniscience. That's kind of wild. I guess they do have Beseju live, so we'll put this on the stack first. We'll play Leer. Leer's gonna resolve. And I'm gonna untap a Lotus Field. See what we draw. Grazer, not the best. I suppose now we want to Impulse because we really want to find a Pour over the pages so that we can cast it as soon as Omniscience touches the board. Probably has to be Impulse again. Okay, Hidden Strings at least untaps land and we can keep going. So that's the take. Omniscience touches the board, and we cast Hidden Strings from hand. Yeah, there's Beseger. I guess we'll try to fetch a land. All right, and Pour, I guess. Bin Grazer. One, 4, 7, 8. We need 13. To be able to Bolligate Recovery Omniscience again. Oh, did I math wrong? Oh, no, I didn't. Alright, so through Beseju, we've managed to resolve Omniscience a second time. Impulse. Grazer, I guess. Impulse. Yeah. Alright, well, I guess it has to be that. Lair of the Hydra will be the land for turn. Play Grazer. Oops. And I don't think... Oh, wait. I have Bolligate Recovery. What am I doing? I did not notice that. We still have life. I guess Balaga Recovery fetches Impulse. Saddest thing to ever have to do. Poor. Untap, untap. Discard Botanical Sanctum. Cast Emergent Ultimatum for free. Give me Poor. Behold the Beyond. And Balaga Recovery. Maybe these decks can't just run one win con anymore. Yeah, let's make sure that Behold resolves first. Because I don't want to discard the cards I get off Poor. So I get to pick 3 cards of my choice from my deck. I think they're going to be Hidden Strings, Hidden Strings, Odawara. Let's resolve Poor, I guess. Discard Botanical Sanctum. Balaga Recovery. Rebuy Odawara. Yeah, I really don't think so. Oh, I do. I have the Hidden Strings. I can tap everything down. Okay, okay, okay. So I can't win this turn, but maybe next? Okay. I guess maybe I should have bounced Karn. If they answer Omniscience, this gets way harder, unfortunately. Or if they fetch, finally, Damping Sphere. Although Damping Sphere doesn't matter as much with Omniscience in play. We can find an answer to that. We even have the answer to that. We have Beseiju. Opponent might not know that Hidden Strings taps down their shit either. Paradox Engine, okay. I did not know that was a legal Pioneer card. I'm going to level with you. So the question, I guess... Thoughtseize, that sucks. I think we have to kill Paradox Engine here. So Thoughtseize, obviously, when we have Lear in play, is not awful. But it does suck. And if they have a way to rebuy the Paradox Engine... So go ahead, what do you take? Hopefully they don't have another Beseiju. They've already used one. 3-color deck probably doesn't run more than one. The Reality Chip. Sure. Okay. Jace by himself isn't going to do it. And they're tapped, like, they don't have many creatures left, and they're at 12. We might win this game. At the end of turn, it gets return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Okay, so that answers Omniscience, kind of. Yeah. But that's okay. We can recast Omniscience with the hidden strings we have in hand. Rona. All right, we might have this. Okay. First things first. Get Omniscience in play. Okay. Now, hidden strings. Yes, yes. And I guess we cipher it. I'll cipher it onto Lear. Because otherwise it would get exiled to flashback anyway. Green. Blue. Hidden strings. Lair of the Hydra. Lotus Field. Yes, yes, no. Hidden strings. Well, first we'll tap it. Blue. Hidden strings. Target. Target. Yes, yes, yes. Alright. So Lair currently animates for how much? 2, 5, 11. So how many hidden strings do we have left? 1. But we have a pour over the pages as well. I think we got it. No! Oh, come on. I didn't mean to... Okay. I was hoping to tap the Lotus Fields to pay for it. Alright. 3, 6. Shit. I think this still works. Discard Besage. Blue. Blue. Pour. Untap. Untap. Discard. Scrying. Bottle get recovery. Get back. Pour over the pages. Pour over the page. No. Tap. Tap. Pour over the pages. Untap. Untap. Discard Besage you. Animate Lair. Combat. Attack you. Okay. What a game. What a game of Magic. All right. That was game 1. For those of you keeping score. That's Oh, wow. Okay. So, unfortunately, I think this gets worse for us, not better. They have Karn as, like, a ticking clock, which I think just means go as fast as we can. I think we're supposed to treat them like another combo deck. And we're just trying to kill them. Fading Hope actually does seem good for once. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, Dramoka seems slow. Zakama seems slow. I think getting these to resolve. Maybe I just want a shitload of different win conditions. Maybe that's the play. So they can't just name one thing and screw me. And maybe I don't care about their board, really. Like, because once they assemble their board, it's basically over when they have Tyvar. I think we're fine going down to like 2 impulses. I think I'm okay trimming like a Dark Petition when I'm bringing in all of these things. Sideboard Guide says in fast matchups board out a Balaget Recovery, which I guess I will do, although I don't love it. I think the Fading Hopes are probably the worst cards. Okay, we have Hope Tender, we have Scrying, Lotus Field, Thespian Stage, Snapkeep. Only thing that makes this better is a Grazer. Settle for a Leer, I suppose. Breeding Pool tapped. Go ahead. And probably next turn is Hope Tender. Yeah. If allowed, of course. Yeah, we can get the temple down. I don't think that's necessary. We're just trying to go as fast as we possibly can. Balaget Recovery was so good. Yeah, no, the card is low-key what makes the deck work. Opponent plays Karn on turn 3. Okay. Yeah. I guess Hope Tender pressures up. What's the card? What are you grabbing? Fetches Mox Amber. Okay. Doesn't do anything right now. So we can play Lotus Field, untap it. We'll have 4 mana available. Doesn't really do enough. Although I guess we have Hidden Strings. At that point, we could get Leer down. I feel like it's important to attack Karn. I guess we could exert Hope Tender. Not having the Thespian Stage in place sucks. Yeah, I think we make the boring play. I'm going to scrying, looking for Beseju, Lotus Field, sacrifice, combat, swing at Karn. So Hope Tender lives, we get to Thespian Stage, copy Lotus Field, exert Hope Tender, untap both, go off. Because we attacked Karn, he can't fetch Damping Sphere and play it, which is why it was so important to hit him. There's Kinnan, so they appear tapped out of blue, but they actually have the Mox Amber available. Not anymore. Here's Tyvar. Tyvar Mills brings back Elvish Mystic. So boatloads of mana here. 2, 4, 5 mana. None of it blue. Karn pluses on nothing. No blocks. And we're going to try to go off this turn. Alright, Thespian Stage. Copy Lotus Field. Exert, untap both. Pour. Find Dark Petition. That's pretty good. Discard Temple. Hidden Strings. Five, 11 mana here. So Dark Petition takes us down to 6, adds 3, we have 9 mana. So let's do this again. Fetch. Omniscience. I guess Omniscience does run into another Beseju, should they have it. That would stink. So I guess that means I should take the opportunity to Hidden Strings here while I can. Cast Leer, I guess, given that. Leer resolves, we'll pour over the pages. So we'll pour over the pages. Discard Grazer. Sorry, okay, I would answer your question, but I'm very low on time. Fetch Ultimatum. Blue. Hidden Strings. Now we'll cast Omniscience. Cast Merchant Ultimatum for free. That resolves. Great. Pier. Bolaged. And... what a game of Magic. Oh my god.